when I first went to a jiu-jitsu class, some little guy made me tap, and I was like, "What is this?" And he's just like, "Jiu-jitsu, buddy."
Think about how you felt then and how bad you wanted to be where you are right now
Yeah,
because you don't want to be back there. I think
that's one of the safest places to lose is in a sport. Like, you know what I mean? To learn those things, like to lose in sports, that's like a great like avenue because it's not life, it's not losing your job, it's not losing those things that like potentially like involve like affecting your life in a crazy way.
All right, welcome. This is live from Langley BC, the #1 podcast in Langley, where we talk to local Langley residents and business owners about local Langley events and businesses and pretty much everything Langley. Today's guest is, we're going a different direction, but it's an exciting direction, so I can't wait for you guys to listen in. This is the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt and BFL champ, middleweight and division. This is Jared, the Rebel Revel. So it's funny. I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I wonder what his nickname is because his title is because his name sounds awfully close to Revel. So thanks for jumping on, Jared. Do you want to maybe go into detail a little bit about yourself, just so anybody watching can get to know you?
Yeah, for sure. No, I was born and raised in a small town called Carmen, Manitoba. That's where my roots are. When I was 18, I moved out to BC here, and wasn't sure if this is going to be my home for forever. But it seems like it grew on me, and I've been here for about another 19 years, right? So it's constantly I've been here longer, I guess, than I was back home, right? Since I came out here, I kind of fell in love with martial arts, and I never thought I was going to maybe compete or anything. I kind of just did it because it was something cool and a way to get in shape, right? And through that, you just meet a good community of people and some of my best friends, right? And ended up competing, and it just became a way of life for me. And now it's something I do for a full-time job type thing.
Yeah, and congratulations on that because, it's such a big barrier of entry to that. And a lot of the time injury gets in the way, obviously politics, sometimes money,
Yeah.
but you made it. So that's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah. And it's funny, like you say, so like, my name, every time I like the nickname, the Rebel, right? It's every time I say like, oh, my name's Jared Revel, right? And then people are like, oh, how do I spell that? Rebel? Like, no, but let's just go with that, right? But I actually got the nickname from a local radio station, the Bro Jake show. So like I called in, a friend of mine asked me to call in or whatever, and because he wanted to win some tickets. And when I called in, the guy was like, "Oh, like what's your nickname?" I was like, "I don't really have one at this time." And he's like, "Just from this point on, you're Jared the Rebel Revel." And I was like, it rolled real well, and it's like from that point on, it was, it stuck. So.
Yeah, it's nothing like a random interaction to set the name that you're going to carry on
For sure, right?
the rest of your career.
For sure.
But it works out for sure because it rolls off the tongue. And then, so you said you moved here from Calgary or Alberta, and you were 18. Where did you start off when you came here?
I actually moved into Abbotsford just because I had some family out that way. So I moved to Abbotsford, just kind of getting my feet wet, getting a couple different jobs. I did a lot of things at that point, right? From working in hospitality, I became an auxiliary firefighter, just kind of going through the gamut, working in the kitchens, doing whatever kind of to get going. And then through that, I just ended up with a buddy. He invited me to go to a martial art class, and I went. And from there, the rest is history.
And when about was that? How old were you when you started?
I want to say like 21. I think went to the first gym out in 𝐏𝐸𝐴𝐴. It was called Revolution, and it's that was a wild ride. I was a part of that team for a long time. I ended up even being a part owner in the gym that moved here in Langley. So I had Revolution was here, and for about 8 years I was a part of the gym here and ownership as well. So it's it's been a long ride.
Jared the Rebel Revel from Revolution.
Right?
That's where we crossed paths a couple times. And I, obviously looking back then, I was like, I never knew we would end up here.
Right.
But that's back then, I guess when you were in Langley, you were training. Were you already competing at that point?
So in Langley, living in Langley, I probably moved, I guess, 11 years ago is when I moved to Langley. And that's about the time I started actually competing in MMA. I'd already been competing in like jiu-jitsu locally and around the world, right? But that's when my first kind of MMA fight was about 11 years ago, and just when I kind of moved to Langley, right, to be close to the gym and be able to train as much as I could.
So your foundation was in Jitsu, like when 21 to.
Yeah, I would say like when I started, like I did some kickboxing and jiu-jitsu just seemed, I think when I first went to a jiu-jitsu class, some little guy made me tap and I was like, what is this? And he's just like, jiu-jitsu, buddy. And I was like, oh, I was like, I need to learn that so I, don't have this happen again, right? And so I kind of fell in love with that and honed my skills and just naturally through it, like competing with people just in the gym and realizing that the next kind of step, if I want to be, competing at the highest level is join MMA.
Then it you're gonna become more well-rounded and well-versed, different angles of attack and all that, defense. But Jitsu, from what I hear, like that is the foundation a lot of the time, and that's the most beneficial MMA or martial art that you could learn for, I think, street fights and self-defense.
Yeah, like in self-defense for sure. I think that's the way to go. Like if you're looking at foundation, like wrestling is going to be like very key in MMA just because it dictates whether it is on the ground or if it's standing, right? So if you're a really good wrestler, you can obviously keep it on the feet if you're better there, or you can take it to the ground if you feel you're better there. So that's like going to be a huge foundation, but jiu-jitsu has definitely served me very well and, made my confidence level in any match I go into, whether if somebody's attacking me on the street or whatever it is. So
yeah, and I feel like, well, you have the upper hand. If you do get taken down by a wrestler, you're on your back, but that's where you want to be almost.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the last, my last two fights, it's, I've been taken down and then I got to finish on the ground. So there's definitely been a...
Was it the first round too, or first?
So my last fight was the second round. The fight before was the first round. So
that's crazy. Just submissions, first round, second
yeah,
round.
it's I've been fortunate that the fights don't last that long, right?
What's your favorite submission? I don't know if you can say that on.
Yeah, favorite submission, I think would probably be some type of strangle choke, right? That's like for me, like obviously there's arm bars and different things where you're breaking limbs, but I think for me, like putting someone to sleep is definitely where it's at. Like they're at that point that they're not coming back, right? Somebody can still fight with a broken arm or something of that nature. So my last fight was a rear naked choke, so and he ended up going to sleep because he didn't tap, right?
Yeah, I feel like once you get into that, when you get it set in, anything, that's where the panic kicks in. Because I feel like when you get an armbar or any type of lock-in, you still kind of like, okay, well, I'm still competent to like understand what's going on. But the moment you feel that pressure on your neck, like I've only trained Jitsu a couple times, and like it was just getting dragged to a gym one time, and I was like, this is pretty fun. And just when we were practicing and rolling and practicing submissions, and it's like, I think it was like any Darce choke, and it's just like, you're just such a weird angle, and you can either like roll their body over top, and then that's how they choke themselves essentially.
100%, yeah.
Or you get, when you're wearing gis and everything, you have a little bit of a leverage, but it just all it takes a little bit of a tug, and it's lights out.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a beautiful art, I think, and it's just there's something about it. It definitely humbles you for sure, right? Because you always think that you're going to be able to at least defend yourself or get somebody off of you, but then all of a sudden you're with somebody that knows what they're doing, and you're in a world of trouble, right? It's definitely eye-opening for sure.
Yeah, it's like a chess match essentially. It's like, okay, if you know 3 steps ahead what's going to happen, you could be the smallest guy and still be able to overcome that.
No, for sure.
I've had experiences rolling. When you get a couple drinks with some friends, the tarps come off, and any patch of grass becomes the mat, and it's when you're actually going up against someone who knows what they're doing. Like you could have them in the rear naked choke position, and they're getting out of it, and you're gonna end up on your back somehow. Yeah. So that's what blows my mind about Jitsu, and I don't know any other martial art that, I guess maybe judo where it was similar, but everything else just strikes, right? How have you found moving into like MMA?
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning process, and for me, it's like what I do love about martial arts is I played team sports my whole life, and I think winning as a team is something that's very valuable, and it teaches you a lot about working with other people, and essentially winning with other people, losing with other people, like the victory and and the defeats, right, that you have, but how you can mesh with that, right? So I definitely learned a lot of valuable life lessons through that, and at the end of the day, like mixed martial arts has given me an opportunity. So it's like I can't blame the goaltender for not playing well, right? I can't do that. So it's, obviously I have a team and my coaches and everything that help me prepare my training partners. But, when the night's on, when you're competing, whether it's a jiu-jitsu match, a kickboxing or MMA match, right? When the lights are on, it's like it's up to you, right? Like how do you perform? Like how do you perform under the lights with the pressure, right? Like what does that look like? And so for me, I love that because it tests my resolve and see, what I'm made of, right? Truly, because you are going to come across challenging moments, right? Whether it's in the fight, after a fight, if you've lost a fight, if you've won a fight, like how do you respond after those situations? And I love that because lets me see what I'm made of.
Yeah, I've heard stories about just walking into the ring. It's like every time. Depends, obviously. I don't know how you are. How do you find it?
I honestly, the
headspace. So
I love that moment. Like for me, it's as soon as like the beat drops, like I walk out to 𝐏𝐻𝐿𝐴Z𝐸 by Tupac, and as soon as the beat drops, it's just I'm in a different zone. Like for me, I'm just so laser focused. A lot of people say like it's definitely not the person they know when they're watching. They're like, oh, I've never seen that person before, right? And for me, it's just I'm locked in, right? And it's it's the moment, right? It's for me, I love it. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. Some people I think, have anxiety, but I like, it's just how you channel that, right? Like anxiety, excitement, those are all feelings of, endorphins running through your body and, do you know what I mean? Like dopamine coming through, right? So it's like, how do you channel that? And for me, it's always been like, this is like the moment, this is exciting. This is something like, this is an opportunity, right? For you to rise, right? So that's how I look at it. And like, there's nothing like it walking in there.
Yeah, it's all about how you kind of, interpret it with your brain. Because, you could have anxiety, but all it is endorphins. And you could tell yourself, hey, this is excitement, not anxiety.
Yeah.
And you'll realize, you perform differently under both scenarios.
For sure. You use that as positive energy to go out there and like light it up essentially, right? Instead of letting that overcome and overpower your whole mind and body, right?
Yeah, because then you just freeze up and you just can't think straight and you make mistakes that you would have never made. And
I think that's like a big key of why I love it so much and why I've used it to like interpret like life in general, right? Because that's like what we're talking about right there. That's in every facet of life, whether it's coming on to do a podcast, doing your own show, right? Like whatever work you do, you're going to come across challenges. You're going to have moments of anxiety-filled, pressure, right? And how do you respond to those moments? And that's in everything, whether it's relationships, right? Personal, professional, emotional, whatever it is. We come across those things, and that's the biggest lesson that I've learned from martial arts is how to apply it to everyday life. Because if I can smash through that, then I feel pretty unbreakable in most things.
Mm-hmm. Was there a breakthrough moment, would you say, like through your practice, that you feel like, okay, well, I've mastered this, and now I can take these different, avenues in my life and break through those challenges as well?
Yeah, like I would never say like I've mastered anything, just in the sense of like I want to be a student and constantly learn. And even if I feel like I've got to a high stage, I always want to learn more. I always want to sponge in. I want to, get as much knowledge as I can in all facets of my life, right? It's nothing. I never feel like I'm complete in anything. I always think there's room to grow. I do feel like in one of my fights, I went through like a 25-minute war. I was defending my title, and for me, it was like, it was so much more than just the physical aspect of me being the best, fighter that night, being the best in the world type thing. It's like there was so much more involved in that, right? Like dedicating myself to my practice, right? Like obviously sacrificing so many things that come with it, like with family, friends. Like I have to put a lot of work in and realizing all that. And in the moment of that fight, like the resolve I had to have, because I felt like I had broke both my feet during the fight. They were balloons, right? I'd been kicked in the head, so I had a huge goose egg, right? And it's there was a moment that I was like, questioning, can I go on? Can I continue that fight? And just to like know that like I instantly just looked across and I was like, there's no way he prepared better. There's no way he's, not as, that he's not more tired than I am. And just be able to push through that mentally, those challenges and all those things, like the emotion of everything. Like I'm in my hometown crowd, right? Like, that can be the disappointment of defeat, all that stuff weighing on you, right? And to be able to push through that and then give my best 2 rounds in the kind of the championship rounds, which are the 4th and 5th rounds, that was by far like the biggest breakthrough for me mentally, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And I remember after that fight, like we always go out and celebrate. So I won that fight, and we went out after, and you celebrate. I was in such a weird state. Like I think just because I'd been through such a war, essentially, both mentally and physically and emotionally, everything. And I remember just like we were out for dinner and I went outside and I was just like, I just need to be by myself. I couldn't even be around people. And I was like, it was just a moment. I was like, there's so much coming over my body because I had like accomplished something that, I set out to, that I maybe didn't know I was like, was I capable of that? Like, it's a question, right? Like when you get pushed to that point, like how will you respond? And it was like, I like literally had some tears and I was like so emotional about it. It was definitely a breakthrough for me. And like, I don't think there's anything that I can face in my life that I'm not going to be able to accomplish or to crush through.
Mm-hmm. And like, it makes sense that after that war, you would have probably felt that way, just because if it was a first rounder, you probably wouldn't have realized how much work you've put in to actually take the victory there. But because you actually had to go to the brink of potential loss, that's when you realized, oh wow, like it could have been gone right there, but you stuck through it and you came out the other end the winner. So that's that's what I find a lot of the time too, is if you don't go through that struggle to the point of like breaking down, it's too easy, right?
Yeah.
Life can be too easy sometimes, and that could be bad for, everyone. When things are too easy, they feel like they're getting it handed to them and they don't take it seriously. They take it for granted. And next thing you know, they just fall off because it's like, oh, it was easy the first time, right? And I'm sure everyone's guilty of this, myself included, where, you struggle through a period of time in your life and all of a sudden you're just like, okay, now the wins get easier. And you're like, I could take a little chill break here and kick my feet up. And the next thing you know, you're back at square one and you're like, wow, how did I just let this happen? It's always good to, like you said, go through the struggle. Otherwise, you lose the hunger, I think.
Like, don't get it twisted. I love to win, in life in general, right? I love to be my best version. But I think some of my biggest losses in life or biggest, I guess some people would say failures, whatever it is, those have been like some of the most life-changing, opportunities for me to grow and to become the person I am and to have that mental resolve. And, I've lost big in life before. Like, I've, at a stage in my life, like before I started fighting, I kind of screwed a lot of things up in my life and definitely went through it. And some people might say hit rock bottom, but that was definitely to bounce back. Now all I have is gratitude for the people that support me, the people that are there for me. And I got to show that with, kind of giving a return on that investment and giving it my all. So everything I do, like I love to give it 120% and make sure that, I'm being my best version of myself, right?
Yeah, you're kind of like your 21, 18-year-old self is looking up at you and looking at and like, hey, we're struggling right now, but then this is the future, and that's where you're at right now. You're making him proud. So that's 100%, awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a lot of the time people deal with mental health problems and they compare themselves to how they're not maybe moving as fast as they'd like to, and all they got to do is take a step back, look back all the way back to like rock bottom, and then think about how you felt then, how bad you wanted to be where you are right now, because you don't want to be back there wishing like what if, or feeling like you missed opportunity. So that's I think everyone who's successful thinks that way. Otherwise, like I said, you probably lose the drive. You're just like, okay, let me chill. And
well, when things happen, right? Like if you don't have like straight love for the the process, like have passion for what you're doing, like whenever you come up against opposition, you're gonna fold, right? If you don't have that, because in those moments of struggle, in those moments, like how are you going to push through if it's when you're uncomfortable, how are you going to push through if you don't actually have that drive, if you don't have that passion, the love for whatever you're doing? That's what I've just focused on, and I try to apply that in every aspect of everything I do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Then did you find, so moving into everything else that you do, have you found that like you had obstacles before and like, the other facets of your life, and now you've been able to overcome them, or like?
Yeah, I definitely believe like that's what's prepared me for everything else in my life too. Like I mentioned that that fight was like instrumental to my mental resolve, but like me going through the struggles I went through to get where I am, that was the hardest thing I ever had to like overcome, right? And just to be like transparent, like I was heavily like in addiction and I ended up going through like a treatment facility and cleaning up my life, and like I'm coming up on I guess 12 years clean in August, right? So it's like that my ability to do most things comes from that like what I went through and having to kind of fight back and and gain people's trust back in my life and all those things, right? you know, getting a job, doing all those things back, right? Because I kind of really messed up my life and put myself kind of back a lot of steps, right? So to fight through that and to overcome that's like prepared me for essentially anything that I come across, right?
And then that's when you would say that moment where you were cleaning everything up, that's the moment that you realize, okay, it's either you got a decision to make. Either you're going to go back down the same steps and continue that cycle, or you're going to just never look back.
Yeah, I would say that like, like I definitely was blessed with like just some natural talent and throughout most of my life, and I kind of skated through life with that in most things, right? It just relying on what I had, and through that I realized like growth, like I need to like put in the work, I need to like obtain skill, and I need to put in like countless hours to not just like improve my physical, but my mental, my emotional, my social, everything, my professional life, like, and really like dial in everything and not just be great at one thing, but constantly strive for greatness in everything I do, right? And that's like where I got that from, and realizing that nothing's given to you, it's got to be earned. And the wild thing is the harder you work and the better you are to people, like just more opportunities come. Like, it's a lot of people will be like, oh, like things just come easy to you. It's like, no, like I work hard. Like, I was even just reading a quote today. It's like all about, something about like everybody wants to be a beast, and like lions, like, it's not just about the end prize, getting the gazelle. It's like they love the hunt, they love the process, and it's like that's what I love. I love hard work and nobody's watching, doing that stuff. It really fortifies my mind and everything. Like when you're by yourself, and are you going to work as hard as if there's somebody watching you, right? Like that comes down to the individual, right? And I pride myself in being able to do that. So when the lights are on and when things happen, that I can easily perform at that level because I can do it on my own.
Yeah, that's when all the hours of work really go to show. It's not a mistake. It's not like, oh, I underperformed this. It's like that was going to happen based on your preparation. Yeah. So if you over prepare, like you're setting yourself up for the best chances of a success, at least. And then, so now that you're champ, I think, right? So you've defended your title. What's next? What are you working on?
At this point, like I've defended my title. I've been very fortunate in my career. I'm not the youngest, that there is. So, we're kind of sitting back. We, just finished this fight. I'll probably sit back with my coaches and kind of focus on what's next. There's obviously another big card coming up. There's also one that is going to be here in Langley. It's going to be a big card in September at the Langley Event Center. It could be like a big pro kickboxing fight, which will, hopefully they get about 5,000 people out. So it's just across the way here. And so that could be a really exciting event I've never actually fought in a kickboxing fight, right? Like a pro kickboxing. So that'd be something that, I could entertain. And then always MMA is just that next opportunity, I'm looking to fight the best and challenge myself against, the best there is, in this world. So whatever.
You're still actively looking at different competitions, like kickboxing, going into your first pro fight.
What is going to challenge me the most? Where am I at, and what is that next opportunity? So a lot of it, like even though, like I said, it's an individual, like when you're in the moment, but I do have a team that's put a lot of sacrificed hours and really been with me the whole step of the way. So like my coaches and my team, like they're a big part of that, and they, at the end of the day, sure, it comes down to me, right? But they also help with so many of the decisions, and I trust them, blindly in that they have my best interest at heart, and it's we're a unit. They've flown essentially all over the world with me for fights, and taking off time from their jobs and all that, and like to Brazil, all these places, just for for my career. So I do put weight on that and like take their input for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow. So yeah, you're in it for the long run then.
It has been a long run, and I think just as long as I have like drive to keep pushing through, and I do. I don't know if I'll ever end in my competitive spirit. If people know me, they know I'm very competitive in pretty much anything I do. So I don't know if those juices will end, or if it's just a new chapter. I find something new to do, and that's kind of where it goes from here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's awesome that we have some of the facilities that, like you were saying, LEC, but then like BFL, something like that organization here, because I only heard of BFL recently. I'm sure it's been going on since probably, do you know anything about like?
I don't know what the exact story. It's definitely been like I would say 12 years. So I think for sure. Like I think that's
That lands us around 2010-ish. Yeah, that's I guess when UFC was really kind of starting to go mainstream a bit more.
Yeah.
Those were the Chuck Liddell days, I think, or that was just before Chuck Liddell days. But yeah, that's from what I remember, anyways. And yeah, it's awesome. We have that here. We have so many different types of organizations. And is that BFL? BFL's MMA. What's the kickboxing?
BFL is MMA. They do have some kickboxing, but it's more amateur. They've done some jiu-jitsu competitions on their events. Obviously we have so many great platforms that can showcase our local talent and bringing people from all over to fight our local champions and stuff. I believe Mamba fights, so that's something out of Abbotsford, right? And but for me, it's like any of those platforms that you got to give some major props to, just to allow space for us athletes to perform and get a chance to showcase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's good to have that, because otherwise, yeah, some fighters like yourself wouldn't have that platform to give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
And that exposure, because ultimately, yeah, that's where the career flourishes, is from exposure and getting in front of those big crowds.
Yeah.
That'll pretty much give you a telltale sign of, hey, am I cut out for this?
Yeah.
The nerve's gonna get to me,
Yeah.
because you can fight in a gym, an empty gym. It's probably not the same, is it?
No, there's nothing like it. In terms of preparation and fighting, nothing like that. The roar, the crowd, in victory, but also in defeat. There's nothing like it. You're putting yourself out there, completely naked essentially, and if you win or lose, you got to deal with that, right? And so, how do you combat that? How do you deal with it? Those are all things that I love about the sport, and don't take for granted, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. You mentioned before that you were working on some coaching.
Yeah.
What just to put it out there and maybe help get some exposure for that for those classes that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's a lot of value when it comes to the sport, not just physically but mentally and emotionally, right? You're callousing the mind and the emotions, and just to be able to deal with life in general. And I think if I feel like I should have been exposed to that a little bit earlier, because it took me this long to start to figure stuff like that out, right? So life gets hard sometimes, and I think martial arts is something that all kids should be exposed to.
100%.
Not to kick each other's butts.
No. It's the way I look at it, man, is I wish I would have started when I was younger, and where I grew up, we didn't have anything like this, right? So I didn't start till my 20s, right? And now I've been coaching, I think, on and off for 12 years, give or take, right? And for me, there's so much more involved than just learning a really cool sport, right? It's the defense that goes into it, but especially for kids and adults, there's so many walks of life that come in. That's why I love it. There's it's not just all athletes that want to compete, right? There's people that are there just to get in shape. There's people that are there to learn how to defend themselves, how to get more confidence, just to be a part of a community, right? So it's everybody's looking to be part of a community, and that's and you're not going to find a more laid back, chill group of people that support you and like-minded, want healthy lifestyles, all those things, than in a club like that, right? So, and for kids, just the discipline, the determination to be able to learn to lose, because when you're on the mats, for sure, you lose a lot. You're gonna tap out a lot. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean, you could tap out thousands of times, right? So you're losing constantly. That's but how to push through and get over it. That part's done. Let's move on to the next. And mental resolve. See, teaching these kids those valuable lessons and honor, respect, bowing in, all those things, right? Teaching them to be individuals, right? I think it's invaluable to have that as a kid. I wish I had it too. And you even see a lot of kids, maybe their parents just put them in it, right? So that's you know what I mean? But I guarantee you when they're older, they're going to appreciate that. And, so for me, what I've learned through all my, say, personal success and my competition as an individual, I never thought I'd be a coach, because I was I don't understand how you can tell somebody to want it. I just naturally do it. I was I don't know if I can tell somebody how to do that. I just do it, right? So I never thought I could. But as I started doing it And people are like, oh, you're a great coach. I'm like, oh, really? I was just yelling like crazy. I was like, you know what I mean? I didn't really put it together, but people kind of crave that that leadership, that like demanding aspect of somebody like demanding that from you, right? Demanding your best from yourself. And so now there's almost no greater thing like for me than seeing someone else win in life. And that's like, I always thought like selfishly, I just want to win. But I realized through that, like just through me being my best version and competing, all that, like the amount of people that have told me that I inspire them is like, it's hard to receive that, but like, it's like, that's what gets me going. Like, that's what I love to see, whether it's, me coaching someone or just somebody winning in life generally, like losing some weight, starting working out, like, because, I saw you do this. So like, I asked you for some help and you helped. Like that lights me up, man. Like watching somebody succeed, push through, like watching a kid show up to class and me yelling over and over again, like I probably say their name 50 times in a class. They just won't stop talking. They won't listen. They won't do anything. And then all of a sudden one day, them being one of your favorite students. And it's like the barriers you broke, and like just to see people win. Like I love that. Like I love to see improvement in people. I love to see people reach new levels and achieve things. And that's like, that lights me. If I can be a little like cog in that wheel, like that gets me inspired to do more and to be better.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that's been missing from recent sports, and I feel like in MMA, like the respect is there from day one.
Yeah.
So it's not misconstrued as like anger and abuse, right? Whereas in other sports, maybe they come and go, but there's no those fundamental, like you said, respect qualities of the sport in other sports, and that's where kids learn, right?
Yeah.
Is getting coached. That's like the avenue where they learn about life and losing. And unfortunately now losing is something that isn't involved in sports at an early age. And I get it. Yeah. Confidence building is important, but it's like, they have to also know that it's not always going to be handed to them.
Well, sure. Like the whole like losing thing, that's tough for me. Like I believe that the losing is essential, for like, that's one of the safest places to lose is in a sport. Like, you know what I mean? To learn those things, like to lose in sports, that's like a great like avenue, because it's not life. It's not losing your job. It's not losing those things that like potentially like involve like affecting your life in a crazy way. Like financially, I mean, like physically, like that. But it's a safe place where you can, like realize like there's the next game, there's the next, practice, there's the next thing that you can like just get back on the horse, right? And I think it's crucial. And I was very fortunate to have some amazing coaches growing up that were very influential in my life and that helped shape me into the person I am. And I think that's like, I'm not saying I'm a great coach, like that's not what I'm like leading off, but like I hope I could, attain some level of that and keep inspiring the next generation and to be their best versions of themselves. And so like when I hear like a parent say like, even if it's like, oh, like I was talking to my kid and they weren't listening, I was like, I'm going to tell your coach. And they're like, yes, I got it. Right. I was like, that just like lights me up. And, if I see a kid that wants to take a picture with a belt after, or like wants a picture with me, and I had 2 kids that recently just moved and they were leaving and they were emotional about it and they wanted me to sign their belts. And like, to me, that's just like, that means I'm doing something right if I can inspire others, right? And that just it pushes me and makes me motivated to do better, like to even reach more and to be able to help more people. That's kind of what really drives me today.
Yeah, it's so crucial at that age, like to give them that impact, and obviously there's love there, right? And it just goes to show too that you could be hard on kids and they'll still love you because the intention is coming from a good place.
For sure, and they respond to that. Like obviously every individual is different, but I learned quickly, like, because I thought I was just a hard ass when I first started, like, because I don't like to take shit. I don't like to, like, if somebody's not listening, I can't tolerate that. Like, it's, what I mean? It's just a place. And instantly, like, parents would come up to me and be like, you're just amazing. I'm thinking, like, you watch me yell at your child, right? Like, you watch that, right? So, I think that's super important that parents jump on board with that and are also, it's not like just like they come there to let me discipline that and then go home and let them do whatever. It's got to be like a team thing that we're all trying to build, better individuals, right? And that's
you gotta have a parenting class. Not for you gotta let them beat each other up.
Yeah, so I gotta stay a little clear of that because I'm not like essentially a parent myself, so I do like mind those things, but when you see a parent that's involved, that to me is important because that means that they really give a damn, right? And I'm not saying that some parents aren't, like that's not what I'm going at, but you can really tell like like how they curate it, right? And building, a society of outstanding, an outstanding generation coming forward. That's like, if I can be a part of helping that, like, so be it, man.
Yeah. It's something that a lot of people don't, I guess, take into account, is being present for their kids. I'm a parent, new parent, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that really stood out to me, my childhood, was, my parents would always be there for sports, right? And then that carries on now, because want to do this exact same thing. Doesn't matter. Well, obviously younger, growing up, I was always about like, oh yeah, you have to be rich and you got to work all day, like 7 days a week. And now that I have a kid, I'm like, hold on, I don't want to miss this. I don't want her to feel like I'm absent just because I'm out there, slaving away. Because if I slave away, who cares?
Yeah.
Right. Then that relationship's gone. So taking that time for parents, like, to be there, I think that's so crucial, because otherwise they end up bonding to different, probably not as people who are there for them, but not in the right ways, right? And that's the ultimate downfall of their livelihood. Their everything they're working so hard for is not even worth it, because now they've let that slip away. And then so these classes, though, so when I met you, you were at Revel, you were doing classes there. Revel since then has relocated. They're still in Langley, but you're training out of where now?
So I teach just now. So I just teach a couple nights a week at a place called Infinity Mixed Martial Arts over by the 𝐏𝐻𝐸𝐴𝐺 Bridge. But at the end of the day, like I say, I have classes there. If it's close to you, like, I suggest come try it out. There's always trials. Come check it out, see if it's something that works. Although I'm a big supporter of any gym locally. Like, I think the more gyms there are, the more people that are going to be doing martial arts, right? So there's Revolution, which is a great gym. They have GB Langley. There's a new gym opening up that's going to be real close to here. It's called Bibiano Fernandez's Flash Jiu Jitsu, right? So that's going to be a monster gym too. I think any of the locations, just because, obviously I'm a little biased to where I'm teaching, obviously, because that's where I'm at. So Infinity Mixed Martial Arts, hit that. But any gym is great. Like, if somebody's just doing martial arts, to me, that makes me happy, right? As long as they're getting in there and are able to try it out, that means a lot to me. And to see more and more people get involved in this sport is what it's about.
It's all about awareness. Like we were talking about, awareness for different causes, but awareness to a sport that's going to ultimately shape people's livelihoods, their life in the future, their current life, their attitude, their emotions, all of that.
If more people did martial arts, the world would be a better place. That's the way I look at it, man. It's just it really forms good habits and definitely makes a solid human being. So
it definitely does. We got to get into this food real quick, but before we do that, what you said, you were working on some things. You have you want to bring awareness to some causes. So how about we touch on that before we?
Yeah, for sure. So the first one definitely is the last 3 years, I've been with my family and my cousin. We've been putting on events called Smash the Stigma, and we've aligned ourselves with 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐸𝐺, which is the 𝐾�NUCKS Autism Network. My cousin, if you ever check out my page, he's all over it. He's, easily, my favorite human being in the world, right? He's got autism, and he's shaped me in giving me so many perspectives of life, and I'm grateful, for him, right? So 𝐾�NUCKS Autism Network actually helps, by donating to them, actually helps bring events to the communities, for you people with autism in your local communities, right? So we've been putting those on. We did a spike ball tournament the first year, and then now we've done 2 back-to-back golf tournaments, right, to raise money. And we've been very fortunate that we've had so much support and be able to give to a cause and be able to donate. That's to something that's so near and dear to our hearts. Definitely look forward to doing that yearly. And then just recently, for me, I'm just big on how I can make an impact in the world and anything of that nature. So we were just chatting, and recently I started just to challenge myself more. A bunch of my friends, they do cycling, so I was like, they're always giving me a hard time when we work out to get in it. So I figured, why not? I'll kick that up. So, and then I just recently went to a movie called Sound of Freedom, which everybody should go watch. It's it's definitely gut wrenching and puts you through some emotions, but it's so powerful, and the message just needs to be out there. And so it just leaves you like, first of all, I want to stand up and clap for this man, Tim Ballard, just an exceptional human being. Like, if there's it's something of a hero, that man is it, right? And I've been a part of a community called World Playground. Check that out as well. It's a big part of why, like, it's all about health, wealth, travel, adventure, but they also have a big, staple on impact. And so 10% of the proceeds go to this OUR, is Operation Underground Railroad, put on by Tim Ballard, the same guy that's starred essentially in the movie Sound of Freedom. And it's all about essentially saving kids from like sex trafficking and exploitation, right? So it's such a taboo topic, and it's something that people just kind of turn the eye to, right? So I think it's something like $2,700 for like resources that if you can donate that you can save a child, essentially, right? So it started getting my mind going, and I was like, how can I do more? How can I be more involved in something like that? And so yesterday I was just chatting with a bunch of guys that I work out with and that we ride, and that we need to put on an event where it's like, whether it's some type of like cycling ride, some bike ride that's like a Fondo event, that all the registration money, getting donations, that we can go to this OUR and really help promote that, and give awareness to it, and maybe get more people just to go watch it, even if that's all we do by doing that. That fundraising event. I think that's an important role, but I'm always looking for the next impact I can have on a community, right? On on the world, essentially, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. I'm not into riding yet. I was talking to Andrew. He does that a lot. I just got into running, so I have to do a marathon.
Just put it this way, Andrew's going to have you on a bike for that event. Just telling you, he's going to let you have one of his bikes and you'll be riding to that event.
Okay, I guess I guess I'm going to do that then.
Right?
Because it's like I've never ridden long distance biking, but it's we were talking about it. It's just one of those things where you can actually take a step back, look around. You're moving far enough to like see new sights.
Yeah.
And you actually get to enjoy it a little bit. Running is kind of like slow paced. All right, I'm going to see the same tree for the next like 5 minutes.
Oh man, you know what you just did? You just gave me some more light. So maybe, because not everybody has a bike, so maybe we need to do some type of like marathon or running event as well.
I'm looking for
like
a marathon.
Putting it together. Maybe we do both, right? Maybe put it both on, because not everybody has a bike. That's right. Maybe
because you can't just ride your typical like.
No, right? So
dang.
Okay. You're hitting it more.
The sprinter bike or whatever those are called, long distance bikes. Yeah, no, I'd be up for running that for sure. Going a full 40K there.
Right.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. But I don't know if that's a full marathon. I don't know. I've done that before, but yeah, let's get into this though. So you were telling me you like sushi.
Yeah.
We've had sushi once on before. Sushi is one of those things. There's so many options in Langley, I mean everywhere in the Lower Mainland. So it's hard to find a good sushi place. So I just went to the newest, closest spot, which is by Blacksmith Bakery right at Latimer Heights. This one's called Kai Sushi. So I've recently gotten introduced to the raw fish.
Buddy.
I've never been a huge fan, but I mean, I'm not against it. But Dan always jokes that I get adventurous, and it's sushi's my adventurous.
Hey.
But yeah, no, it looks really good. I'm gonna try that out. And then we also got some drinks from the new cafe that just opened up right around the corner, Artigiano. They have a ton of drinks there, that lots of coffee stuff. I didn't get coffee stuff because I'm not a big coffee drinker, but they have so many different types of lattes and cappuccinos. Definitely check it out. And the vibe there is cool because it's all glass. You're facing McDonald's, which isn't ideal, but they have a water fountain there. So it's a really chill spot, maybe to get some work done or hang out and have a chat with someone. So go check out Artigiano, at also Latimer Village if you can. But what did I get there? I got 2 teas. So I got a passion fruit tea, and I have a lavender tea. One of them has some foam in it. Looks a little bit, it's been sitting for about an hour at this point, so I don't even know how to open this. Here. Which one do you want? Do you like milk or no?
I'm going to go with no milk.
No milk. Okay, so there we go.
Push it in.
Pop it open. Let's try this quick.
Oh, that hits the spot.
Yeah, this is lavender. It's like a lavender matcha type of style. That's pretty good. It looks a little bit. I'm gonna just say it looks good, but it's good.
Mine's definitely refreshing.
It's like an iced tea type, and they have different flavors: strawberry, lemonade, all that stuff. Okay, now the goods. Let's get into. So it's funny. I brought one of each because I wasn't sure how picky you are with sushi. My typical sushi, a choice, is a very adventurous yam roll.
Okay.
With Philly cheese inside. So, I don't know if you're up for that.
I'll try it for sure.
That's good. That's good.
I'm a big man on I love sashimi. That's
this is what's it called? Oh wow, they actually gave me one. So they thought I was gonna eat this by myself. This is called oshi. So it's just a slim, a thin slice of salmon, and it also has a like a spicy pepper on it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one I've been trying recently. It's really good too.
Okay.
So yeah. I was just joking about the adventurous. I hope you got that sarcasm. But yeah, let's grab a piece in here.
Okay.
That's so good. There's some seared salmon in there.
Yeah.
It tastes like a smokiness.
I'm about that.
That's really good.
A little jalapeno on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spicy.
It's funny because like I used to look at this and I'd be like, gross. Raw fish. Probably tastes super fishy. But for everyone out there who doesn't like fishy tasting fish, I don't know why, this doesn't taste fishy. This has, it's very, very creamy. Doesn't even taste like, it just tastes like a little layer of sauce over top of the rice.
I hear that, yeah. I used to be just real basic when I started. It was probably just like chicken teriyaki or something like that when I first started venturing into. I don't even know if that's even sushi, really. But I've definitely evolved into like the raw fish and everything being so much
Might as
better,
well get
right?
some protein.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to eat that much rice.
Okay, so I'm hitting in this one.
Mm-hmm.
You say this is the yam?
Yam tempura roll, yeah.
We're just putting our fingers in? That's
Yeah,
good?
that's fine. And then also green cheese in there. So that's something a friend of mine taught me. He's vegetarian, so he's just like, okay, let's throw some extra in there. And ever since, every time I order it, it's just there's Philly cheese in my yam rolls.
There you go. Yeah, it's definitely not the most adventurous, I'll tell you that. But it's good.
Yeah.
I
really
would
good.
never complain.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty basic, like you were saying. I was the deep fried California roll, yam roll guy for pretty much my whole life until about since I started this podcast. This year was my breakout year for trying new things because it all started on the second episode where we had these fitness nuts on, and Liver King was popular at that time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I joked, I'm like, we're going to try some raw bull testicles. And they're like, seriously? And I'm like, yep. I went to try to look for, no, it was liver. Sorry.
Yeah.
Testicles. I don't know why. It was raw liver, Liver King, right. I don't know why I'm thinking testicles right now. And then we joked about the testicles later. But it was the raw liver, and apparently it's bad for you.
Really?
It's very toxic.
Dang.
So, like, if you ever try it, just have a bite. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never...
So that's where we were going to start. We're going to set the bar super high, and then it luckily didn't work out because I would have definitely thrown up on the
So this is real plain Jane then compared to all that.
Oh yeah. No, we've had some different types of foods on here, so it's good though. Get to try out everything that Langley has to offer, and they have a lot. There's so many different restaurants here.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Any place in particular you like to go to?
Like for sushi wise, or just for food in general? I think food in general. Like I've always like. I like the good old Wendell's in Fort Langley. I'm a big fan of that. You know, if I am venturing out getting something, I love that spot. It's just all the food just tastes so like home cooked. It just tastes different, right? It just hits better. So that would be some place I definitely, take people if they're coming from around. Like it's a really dope spot in Fort Langley, right? So it's something that I love. Sushi wise, I just started getting big into this place called Waka Sushi. It's just over by the movie theater. And before that, I was always at a 𝐏𝐸𝐴 Sushi. That's like my I guess I don't know.
What did you notice that was a little bit different from these sushi? Because everyone's always like, "Oh, this has the best sushi," and it's like there's always something on the menu that stands out.
When it comes down to sushi places, if they got good sashimi, they're a good spot. And to me, if the sashimi is good, that means that they're a dope spot. That means that they're busy and that they're going through their raw seafood fast, so it doesn't taste a little older or it's not as like high quality, right? So that's what I just look at. I ain't no sushi wizard though. I just what tastes good to me, but I always base off of that. Like if I get some, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotta try. Well, I've just started getting into sashimi as well, so I'll have to try that. Try that as a telltale sign. For me, of course, it was how good their California rolls tasted.
Yeah,
that was my telltale. That was my deciding factor.
California rolls, right?
These are the best. Well, I mean, I've had some not so good California rolls, and now if they can't dial this down, I'm sure they can't dial down.
Yeah, I've had lots of bad sushi. Let's be honest, right?
For sure. Yeah,
but
funny. All right. Well, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at @Jared_Revel, and then I'm on Facebook as Jared Revel. Everything's Jared Revel. So it has JARED and then REV as in Victor, not B as in Rebel, right? EL. So Jared Revel.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, it's funny because every time Brad, who works here, brought you up, every time I don't know what it is, every time someone talks about revolution, there's one time, I think it was, I went to the gym at like 5 a.m. one time, revolution. And this was like my first and only time in that season of my life where I went to the gym that early. And I'm like coming in, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, sleepy. And I see you like coming off the mats, I think. Or I think you were there like opening up.
Yeah.
But you're like wide awake and like full of energy. And I'd seen you a ton of times when I was working out at Revo too. But that time, it just stood out to me so much. And I realized, I'm like, wow, like this guy has so much energy this early in the morning. Like why am I struggling so much? Right. So it's weird. That's like the clip I have in my head.
I love it. Yeah.
I was, first training at Revolution. So.
And I would be there from like that time to like 9 at night. So it was like, in those days, and I was, so that's, I did that for years, and it was, it was obviously great for my life too, though. It kept me on the straight and narrow. I was always around healthy, positive-minded people, right? So it's like, it's not like it wasn't hard for me at that point, right? And just a vibe, like that's why I think being a part of like a gym, a community like that, I think it's important for everybody, right? And if you're not in shape, if you're not like intimidated, like that's like the last place you should be intimidated, because like when I see people of all walks of life in there, like I'm inspired that they're there to like better their life. Like they're not there to like worsen off their life, you know what I mean? To go there and, make their life harder or whatever. Like they're going there to literally better themselves,
they're
right?
Overcoming much more than somebody who's like been in the gym their whole life.
Yeah.
They literally are breaking boundaries in their life and their mental, like they have to, like it takes a lot for somebody who's that down in life, health wise, to even step foot in the gym.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like I think that like that mindset needs to be crushed, because it's like when I see people in there, like I'm just motivated, because like just like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna crush it now. Like look at that, yes. You know what I mean? Like that's inspiring to me. So I think that's like, and it's a healthy, comfortable, and it's like an inviting environment for everybody. And I think everybody should be involved in some aspect of that in their life, just for longevity and for, for mental capacity too. I think it helps out a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. You might have to catch me in the gym soon.
Yeah.
But if you're still watching, thank you so much. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. We make videos like this about Langley all the time. And then leave us a rating. We're on Spotify now. We're all over the place. Give us a follow. Share this episode. Give us some insight. If you have any questions for Jared, comment down below or reach out to him on his IG or Facebook. And thanks again for watching. See you on the next one. Cool.
See you, buddy.
Sound